A man's face is covered with sand and dirt, yet he dares not wipe it away with his hands. Below the cliff face lies a precipice. Sliding off would have unimaginable consequences. Even lying perfectly still, he cannot prevent his body from naturally sliding downward. Watching himself slip toward the cliff edge, he desperately claws at the rock face with both hands, spreading his legs wide to increase resistance. This temporarily halts his descent, though he doesn't know how much longer he can hold on. Suddenly, the phone in his backpack rings. This instantly gives him the courage to survive. He decides to reach for the phone with one hand, but the moment he slightly lifts his hand, his body begins sliding again. He must first grip the cliff face, then press his face tightly against the rock to increase friction. Only after his body stabilizes does he dare slowly reach for his backpack, carefully pulling the zipper. But just as he slips his hand inside, his body suddenly continues sliding downward. Fortunately, at the cliff's edge, his hands manage to grab hold. At this moment, he can only express his inner terror through facial expressions. Listening to the sound of waves crashing against rocks behind him, he begins counting in his mouth. After multiple periodic comparisons, he decides to use the seawater as a buffer for his self-rescue. The man releases his grip and leaps with all his might. Though he successfully plunges into the sea, the impact still injures his waist. With no time to register the pain, he swims desperately toward the surface. When his head breaks through the water, he spots rocks on the surface and hurriedly swims toward them. After climbing onto the reef, he has barely stood up when he falls and blacks out on the rocks. Not until waves splash his face does he regain consciousness. Looking at his waist injury, he realizes he temporarily cannot stand. Remembering the phone in his backpack, he immediately wants to call for help. When the phone won't turn on after he retrieves it, what must he do to get rescued?